Across the wires and through the air, those who seek will find me there. Story, wonder, voice, and art, find the ears and find the heart. There is a kind of beauty that only appears when something has been left alone for too long. A path that disappears beneath vines, a garden that begins to swallow itself, green spilling over green until you can no longer tell what was planted and what simply took over. We like to think of growth as gentle, as something that blooms politely in neat rows and soft petals. But nature does not grow politely. It surges, it competes, it consumes. And at Beltane, at the height of spring's rising, we are not witnessing softness. We are witnessing hunger. Welcome, dear listener, to Wishcrafting, where the magic of the land and the stories of the old world meet the deeper patterns shaping our lives. Today, we're stepping into Beltane, but not the version that you usually hear about. Beltane is so much more than flowers and fertility and soft, blooming abundance. Today, we're exploring the other side of fertility, the side that is relentless, competitive, and at some times consuming. Because growth is not always kind. Anyone who has been through anything they've had to grow through knows this. And Beltane is not just a celebration. It's a threshold into a season where life expands, whether we're ready for it to or not. When we hear the word fertility, we tend to picture something soft. Blossoms, warmth, romance. But biologically, fertility isn't soft. Not at all. It's urgent. Plants don't grow because it's beautiful. They grow because they must. They must reproduce. They must compete in order to survive. A single plant can produce thousands of seeds, countless spores, and entire networks of underground growth. And not all of those will survive. But that's the point. Fertility isn't careful. In fact, it's excess. In the natural world, growth is never isolated. Every plant is in constant negotiation for light, water, nutrients, and space. Trees stretch upward, racing towards the sun. Roots spread outward, quietly competing beneath the soil. Some plants even release chemicals, a process called allopathy, to suppress the growth of those around them. Growth. It's strategic and oftentimes aggressive. And I think we can see this most clearly in what is widely called invasive species. Plants like kudzu, which can grow up to a foot a day, or bracken fern, which can blanket entire landscapes in a season. These are not bad plants. They're simply very good at growing. So good that they overwhelm and outcompete everything else. And suddenly, just like that, we see fertility and abundance has a dark side. And as we go further into that dark side, we can see that growth never exists on its own. It's always paired with something else. Decay. Every thriving ecosystem is built upon decomposition and rot. Leaves fall, bodies return to the soil, and fungi move in. And through that process, nutrients are released. Not a single thing on this planet, not a thing, grows here on Earth before a breaking down first took place. Fungi, bacteria, microorganisms, they are the unseen force of fertility, breaking things apart so something new can take root. Which means that fertility is not just creation, it's also consumption. There's a figure that I feel most powerfully and most succinctly embodies this concept. And it's a figure who appears again and again in old churches and carvings across Britain and Europe. And a little further than that, but that's for another time. This figure is a face, half human, half vegetation, with vines curling from his mouth and branches spilling from his eyes. We call him the Green Man. And if you've been listening for a while, you might remember that I've talked about him before. In that episode, I explored him mostly as a symbol of renewal, of the green world returning. But here at Beltane is when he reveals his other face. I did touch on this in the episode, and now I've had time to kind of fine-tune my opinions and my conceptualization of the Green Man, especially the gorging face. The face where he is consuming everything. The vegetation is coming into his mouth and being consumed. He's destroying, versus some of the other depictions where he's actually creating. In this version of the Green Man, if you look closely, he's not simply adorned with leaves. He's being overtaken by them. In folklore and anthropology, it's known as a foliate head, where vegetation pours out of his mouth, nostrils, and eyes as if the boundary between human and nature has just completely dissolved. It's representative of many things, but I choose to look at it as transformation, and not necessarily a gentle one. The Green Man, in my opinion and my experience, never really represents nature in harmony, because nature is often never in harmony. Instead, he represents nature in motion. Growth that spreads, pushes, and replaces. Plants that crack stone, roots that break foundation, vines that climb and cover and claim. And the Green Man may not be a symbol of us standing in nature, but of what happens when nature begins to move through us. And there's something unsettling about him, because he dissolves a line that we really like to pretend is there. A line that we like to pretend we are keeping intact. The line between ourselves and the environment around us. Between our humanity and wildness. Between control and surrender. In the Green Man, that line completely disappears. He's not in the forest. He's becoming the forest. And that's why I love him so much. And this is relevant because Beltane can turn us inward. Because the same force that we're seeing in the land exists in us. Growth in our own lives can feel a lot like creative surges that don't slow down or won't slow down, desires that are expanding beyond our control, relationships that are constantly getting more and more entangled, and ambitions that feel like they are consuming our very soul. All these things can be celebrated until they become too much. Then what do? Burnout is a form of overgrowth. So is obsession, overcommitment, and constant expansion without rest. Not all growth is healthy, and not all fertility is balanced. Sometimes what is growing is also taking. Enter magical relationship, your magical practice, walking through the world as a magical person. Beltane suddenly becomes not just a celebration of life, but also a crossing point. A seasonal shift where energy rises, desire intensifies, and life accelerates, but where we also can ask ourselves the question of, what am I allowing to take root? Not will things grow, because we know they will. They will, they always have, and they are doing so as we speak constantly, even when you don't see it. But instead of will they grow, what am I allowing to take root? How can I feed myself without overgorging myself? What am I in devotion to? Where am I seeking balance, and is it working? How do I feel? My dear listener, growth when left unchecked will always choose expansion. You have to put checkpoints in for yourself. And if you have goals, dreams, and aspirations, you're always going to feel tired if you continuously move the goalpost. You have to have checkpoints. You have to have places for your expansion to pause and for you to rest. The expansion will continue. The growth will continue. In the meantime, we have to take care of ourselves. And we also have to enjoy the journey, because life is meant to be lived. It doesn't ask you if you're ready. It doesn't ask if this continuation is sustainable. Life moves. It always moves. Like vines across stone, like roots beneath your feet. Like something ancient remembering how to rise, life goes on. And I think, possibly, that might be the deeper invitation of Beltane. Not to grow blindly, but instead to grow with awareness. And to invite into that awareness presence, groundedness, and through that presence and groundedness, rest, rejuvenation, joy, bliss, exuberance, all existing together. I invite you this Beltane to notice what's nourishing you and what's consuming you. And when you notice, you can start to choose where you can and to witness where you cannot. Thank you, my dear listener, for walking this wilder edge of Beltane with me and listening to me wax poetic a little bit. If this episode stirred something within you, I'd love to hear what's growing in your world right now. You can find how to contact me and the rest of my work in the show notes. And if you haven't yet listened to my episode on the Green Man, it's a really beautiful companion to this one, and for this time of year, it's just another doorway into the mysteries of the green world that I hold so dear to my heart. Until next time, my name is Wishamaya. Don't forget that not all growth is gentle, but all of it is alive. And I especially don't want you to forget to keep your roots deep and your dreams wild. I'll see you next time.